I was having some prayer time this morning with God, and it was like a very clear um, revelation He gave me today of the process that He's having me go through. So, basically, the theme was idols. So, a little backstory: the last couple years, God has been teaching me many things, and one of the things that He's been repeatedly reminding me of is the suffering that the disciples went through and the suffering that Jesus went through while they were doing their mission, and all of the bad stuff that happened to them, and how just uncomfortable and inhumane in many cases, and just full on violent circumstances that they were living in, but they were still striving to be obedient to God and to do God's will. And that has been in my mind a lot for the last couple of years. So today, in my time I was reading the Bible, and then God started talking to me. Holy Spirit started talking to me. So, for the last few months, I have been in a situation where it's not my ideal situation, and I've been in my heart complaining about my circumstances, and slowly God has graciously and lovingly been explaining to me that I have to let go of those of complaining. I have to let go of those things that I really want. And then today, God made it very clear that all of the things that I have been complaining about are idols in my life that He has been tearing down. And Holy Spirit has been leading me in prayer lately, asking for God to cleanse me from all of the things that are not for Him, that are all of the things that are not of Him, and asking Him to tear down any idols and empty me of everything that is not from Him, so I can be filled by what comes from Him. And today God made it very clear, and He had me sit down and write a list of all of the things that are idols in my life. And He wants me to share, even though some of them are kind of embarrassing, but I mean, I'd rather be embarrassed and be obedient to God. And talking about this, like, one of the idols in my life is to be seen as good and for recognition and validation and stuff like that. And funny story, I was not that funny, but recently there was a situation where I had to like perform something, and I just absolutely embarrassed myself, and I was embarrassed, and I felt really, really bad. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel really bad about this. Like, this is very embarrassing. But at the same time, I was very grateful that God had me go through that embarrassing situation, because it's keeping me humble. And this need to be not really to be like seen as the best of the best, or it's not like my ego is like super big or anything. But it is something that is kind of in the back of my mind, and something that I'm afraid of is to become someone who seeks validation and seeks recognition, because that pride, that's what the enemy got kicked out of heaven for wanting worship for himself, the recognition for himself. And one way or another, we all struggle with that. And God has done an excellent job at keeping me humble, so I remember that and I don't let my head get big and my ego grow. And it's something Holy Spirit has told me to pray about, because I don't want to feed my ego. I don't want, because like God is asking me to share this stuff online, and this can easily get inside my head, and this can easily become a temptation for me to forget about giving God the glory and seeking glory for myself, and I do not want that. So in prayer, I ask God to keep me humble, and sometimes that means I'm going to be embarrassed, and I'm okay with that, as long as He keeps me in His will, in His path, because I really do not want to be led by ego or recognition and all this stuff. Another thing that has been an idol in my life, and this is embarrassing, it's my body image, like my physical image. In the past, I had a lot of bullying, being called I was overweight, and even from family members, and that really got inside my head. And I remember one summer in school, I was very active, just normal kid stuff, like just, I was in a club for young teenagers, and we did a lot of physical stuff, like play games and sports and whatever. So I lost, I would say, like 15 pounds during that summer. And then when I went back to school, everybody was saying, oh wow, you lost so much weight. And that got inside my head, so that kind of became an obsession for me, became an idol. And still to this day, I have struggled with it. And then this morning, God told me that this is an idol I need to let go of. So this is hard, because it's been so ingrained in my thinking, and I obsess over diets, and I obsess over how much I'm eating and all this stuff. And I have had eating disorders in the past, and I have to actively keep myself in check, because I go back and forth between like EDs. So letting go of that is difficult, because I am constantly thinking about it. So this will require a lot of prayer for me to surrender that to God. Another big one here is comfort. I want to be comfortable. I want to just relax all day and not have to stop what I'm doing to do something else for another person, or my plans being changed and stuff like that. And God told me that this is an idol I need to let go of too. And this one, like comfort, routine, and just control, like they all kind of like work together, and they're all idols that I'm struggling with. I want to have a routine. I want everything to be controlled. I want everything to be ordered. I want order in my life, like everything to be like accounted for and in the right place and all of this stuff. But I'm in a situation where it's kind of chaotic and there's no plan, and if you have plans, they change, and I can't seem to figure out how to have a routine. And God told me that is an idol that you need to let go of. So it is, I have to now ask for God to give me peace in the lack of order, to give me peace in the storm and in the changing, and help me be able to adapt to all of the things that are happening. It's raining right now. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm gonna try to be louder. But there's people asleep, so sorry. So yeah, I have to learn how to accept the lack of order and accept the chaos, and be led by the Spirit with all of this, which has been very difficult for me because it's very uncomfortable and it makes me irritable sometimes, because I want to follow a routine and I want things to be orderly, and if I have a plan, I want the plan to happen how I planned it. But I need to let that control be in God's hands, not on mine. It's a lot of thunder. Another thing, and this is a big one too, like all of these are just huge. And this is the last one I will share. There's more, but financial security. Growing up in my teen years, we were very poor, like having to ask the neighbors for food poor. And that really did a number on my mind, because I have been wired to want to make money, and I have this scarcity mindset all the time, and I'm always obsessing over how can I make more money, how can I make money. But here's the thing, even if I'm obsessing over all these things and trying to learn about financial stuff and trying to learn about business and whatever, I have never gotten myself out of just being, I would say, lower middle class. And given I don't have kids right now, and I don't have like big responsibilities like that, so I just take care of myself. But I've been wanting to make a lot of money for my whole life, but I would say since 2008, where that crash happened, and then the financial situation in my life became really difficult. So a big idol in my life has been wanting to make more money and wanting financial freedom. I'm trying to figure out, but here's the thing. Every time I try to sit down and make a plan to figure out how I can do it, my mind goes around in circles. I think about a billion things. I get overwhelmed, and I end up not doing anything. So I have not made progress on any of that. And God told me to lay that down, lay down that idol, and learn how to live a life where He is my provider. And I have been struggling with this for the longest time, because He's told me this this year to walk by faith, not by sight, and to trust Him and to trust that He will provide for me. So that is scary for me because it kind of feels like I'm being irresponsible. But if God's asking me to do it, like, He's going to provide. If He says He's going to provide, I have to trust that He will. And I sat down for a moment after God has revealed to me all these idols that I've had in my life, and I repented and I asked for Him to tear all of them down. And then He's kind of showed me that He's already been putting me through the process of tearing down those idols. It's just now I'm more aware of it, because I was kind of aware of it, but now I'm more aware of it, if that makes any sense. And I started thinking about how every decision that I've made in my life was based on all of these idols. And then God took me to His word somewhere in Isaiah. I should have just written it down. Isaiah or Jeremiah, one of the prophets. And then the prophet was talking about how Israel had a bunch of idols, and then God was asking them to renounce to those idols. And I knew God was telling me that I had to renounce to those idols, and that He was not happy that I had those idols. And it's crazy to think about that I was being led the majority of my life, not by God, but by those idols. And that is the scary part of having idols in my life. Because if you have idols in your life, you are being led by those idols. You're not being led by God, even if you go to church, even if you know about God, even if you're praying. If you have idols in your life, you are subconsciously or consciously, both, being led by those idols. It's like your life revolves around them. Every decision you make revolves around them. And that is a scary thought. That is a scary thought to have. So I really need to spend more time with God. And I thank Him for making me aware of this list of idols. If you don't know what your idols are, sit down right now, take a piece of pen and paper, and ask God. And be ready to feel uncomfortable. And be ready to have to write down things that you have to let go, that you are not gonna want to let go, and you might get mad. So, disclaimer, you might get upset with this. But it's better than being led by something else that is not God. It's worth the process. It might be painful, it might be frustrating, it might make you angry, it might make you sad, it might make you frustrated. It doesn't matter. It's worth it. So I am gonna be praying for this, and if I would like for you to pray for me about all of these things and about letting go of the idols that I've had in my life, because I don't want to be led by the idols anymore. I want to be led by God. I want my life to revolve around God and to follow Him, and not these dumb idols that have been leading my life for the majority of my existence. I'm over that. So I hope this gives you revelation too, and opens up your heart to all of the things that you need to surrender to God, even if it's very uncomfortable and frustrating. So let's get to work.